So I wanted to talk a little bit more about Immortals of Aveum and why I think you shouldn't write it off. I don't think a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are, putting it on the back burner, putting it on their backlog because of all the games that are out right now and releasing. Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, whatever like massive thing you're playing is probably going to be keeping you busy for a while, right? And Immortals of Aveum is a full-priced game that is frankly pretty short, but I still think it has a lot of merit and it's worth talking about. So I did the before you buy on GameRanks where I break it down, I tell you all the ins and outs of it. And what I do over here usually, if you're new to this channel, is I come over and I go a little bit more just kind of off the cuff, couple of a little bit more personal insights and stuff to the games I play and talk about. And with Immortals of Aveum, I didn't really expect much of this one. I had previewed it at an event. I had seen some trailers. I, like many of you guys, had kind of like laughed at the name Immortals of Aveum. Like, what is this? And there's a lot of that to this game. There is a lot of video gamey ass stuff where it's just like a shit ton of weird lore. It's just not super compelling, and it's just a lot of crazy stuff going on screen, and it just kind of looks like blah. But underneath it all, what this is just a straightforward single-player action-adventure game. And as you guys probably know, like, these are the games that I love. These are the reasons why I play video games. Obviously, Immortals of Aveum isn't like the pinnacle example by any means. It is a flawed game. It is a game with significant problems, whether it's content to dollar price ratio, whatever, prices go down, that's not it, or the visuals, or maybe the gameplay doesn't jive with you. Like, there are flaws, but the flaws for this type of game are like the flaws we're used to, Oh, that didn't land, that twist we saw coming, this gameplay has some balancing issues. It's not like it's undercooked, unfinished. It's not like filled with microtransactions. It doesn't have like a season pass. It's just a single player game. That's a game. You play it, you beat it, that's it. It's like I've said in videos, it's like 11, 12 hours if you just mainline it, and that is pretty short, but sometimes a short experience is good. So I think like this is one that a lot of people, like, again, if you like games like me, you shouldn't skip, because like if you come across this a couple of months from now at a discount, or maybe it's on Game Pass or PS Plus or whatever, and you're just looking for a good time where you don't have to think too much and just play through an adventure and blow shit up and see some compelling characters, that's where I think games like this need to exist. We still need these, and I think for Immortals of Aveum to come out and be pretty good, pretty all right, I like it, not the greatest thing in the world, and in the mid-2000s we probably would have torn it down much more, but the fact that there's a game like this now, it just kind of feels like a novelty, and I think that needs to be celebrated. This is not necessarily giving them a free pass for some of the game's flaws, of course, or the fact that as of right now the PC version is borked, like very borked. The requirements are all over the place for this one, so that's kind of like a terrible thing that just seems to be with all PC game releases now. But aside from that, just the game itself, I found it to be fun. It doesn't give a shit. It kind of knows what it is. It takes magic gameplay, casting gameplay, and just says, whatever, dude, your magic that you're shooting from your hands is just guns. Like, there's pistol magic, there's shotgun blast magic, there's machine gun magic, whatever, let's go. And a lot of that coupled with like some big set piece moments, like you're riding on a giant mech, you're in snow level, you're in woods level, there's large scale battles happening around you at sometimes, like that just makes it a nice breeze to play through. It doesn't outstay its welcome or anything like that. Some of the puzzle elements towards the end get a little tired, and the enemy variation starts to kind of dry up, but then it's over. So it doesn't really end up getting too bad. And you have a front-to-back story. And I really like the main character, Jack, specifically because Darren Barnett is the actor. He has some good presence. There's a lot of characters in the game that are portrayed by real-world actors, and their likenesses in it. Gina Torres absolutely crushes it as Jack's kind of mentor. I really like the dynamic between them. But the main character, Jack specifically, or really Darren Barnett, has a charisma and a likability to him that actually kind of helps push past some of the writing. The big thing with this game is that a lot of the dialogue for some people is going to border on that like MCU cringy dialogue where everything has to be quippy, everybody has to have a joke at all times. This game kind of like doesn't give a shit, and it's M-rated, so it's a little crazier, but there's a couple of jokes or dialogue bits where you're like, oh my god, that is cringe-inducing what happened. It's not like Forspoken level or anything like that, but some people are just really sensitive to this shit and don't like it. But I think in between those moments, there's a good, compelling character here, and again, it goes back to the main character, the actor behind it, being very charismatic, but also having a face for video games. I don't know what that means, essentially. You know how Sam Witwer, who's played Star Killer or Deke from Days Gone, you know how he just kind of has something that, like, his face, his mannerisms, the expressiveness of his face just works well in a video game? I feel like there's the same thing here with Darren Barnett. Like, I want to see him pop up in other things. He was a standout for me. And again, some of the writing, but I think his general charisma and spunkiness and his levity that he brings to it and humor, I think is actually really good. And that was part of the reason why I like playing this game. I like seeing these characters, most of the characters. One of the main companion characters is kind of weak. It's just an adventure with like a compelling bad guy, a good threat, a ever war, like a world that is just forever in this magic war, and a bunch of blasting and killing. So I'm not trying to come off like I am like the defense force for this game by any means. Some people are gonna write it off immediately, but dude, in the early 2000s to mid 2010s, like I was all about Bulletstorm, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, Time Shift, Singularity, like first and third person action adventure games, just a campaign you play through. Hell, I'm not like a Call of Duty bro by any means, but I still like to play through all the campaigns at some point because I like a good adventure that doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a fun, well-packaged thing, and you beat it, and that's it. And I've also addressed some questions with this in terms of it being short. It's not because I'm like a reviewer by trade, and I'm like, I'm so sick of all these open world games, because I do throw shade at every single game having to be open world and all that, but it's not necessarily that they all have to be open world. It's that some fall over themselves and just make it open world for the sake of open world. I've criticized Ubisoft games for sometimes just having so much bloat to justify your dollar that it just doesn't feel meaningful. But then I'm on record liking games that do it right, like an Elden Ring or the Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I like open world games when they make sense, but I really like single player games when they're fun, short, satisfying. And they're still out there. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, I'm glad they're making another one. Plague Tale games are great. Indie experiences, there is stuff out there, but this one's weird because it feels like a AAA big crazy game, but it's done by a new studio and it's published under EA Originals, which is their more of, not indie label, but their smaller studio label. So I know, again, people hear EA Originals, they hear EA, they think the devil, but EA Originals, at least to their credit, has published stuff like the Haze-like games, like It Takes Two, Unravel, the little Yarny guy game. So yeah, ultimately what I'm trying to get across here is like, I like a game that just is a fun adventure. It's well paced, it respects your time, and it's got some heart to it, despite significant flaws, whether it's performance issues, the combat not totally being as cool as it could be. For me, and I've said this in other places, like on the Friends Per Second podcast, I almost wish it was a little bit more Doom, a little bit more Hexen-y, because it's a little bit grounded. There's a blink dodge, but I wish it was faster. I wish it was more. I wish you could bunny hop around, because they make some pretty cool arenas, and it actually feels kind of old school when you're in those arenas, and a lot of enemies just rush you. So I want to be strafing and jumping and hopping and hoop, dodging, Thankfully, there's still games like Dusk and Medieval for that type of shooter feel. But bottom line, you might see gameplay, or you might have heard the title and you're like, that seems like weird, generic, whatever video game this. But sometimes I like that. I don't know. This one might be one that people hold against me later on, where they're like, shut up, Jake, you liked Immortals, you told me to buy that. I didn't. I told you to play it at some point, and I don't care. I had fun with it. That's it. And hopefully I backed up some of the reasons why I liked it and why I think you should check it out at some point. Again, look, if you're just gonna, if you just want to play Fortnite for the rest of your life, this game isn't for you. But if you like a little old adventure that feels like a throwback to PS3, 360, there you go. It's also got some incredible vistas, some cool cutscenes and moments, music that I think is really good. It's like part orchestral and then like a lot of like lo-fi kind of hip-hop, like thumping 808 kind of beats behind it. I like that. It's got something to it. It's all a little creative, from you being like a tactical badass battle mage superhero guy to the world they tried to build. It's cool. Again, it has heart, but I'm talking myself in circles here, so I want to know what you guys think about Immortals of Aveum. Chances are you might be holding out for Starfield, playing through Baldur's Gate 3, or still catching up on I don't know, Persona 5. There's so many games out there, so you might not be jumping to this one right away, but I want to talk about it. Let me know what you think, and really, thank you for being here. If you know me, you know on this channel, I'm kind of just talking about stuff I love, stuff that interests me, so yeah. Clicking the like button helps me, thank you, and thank you for bearing with me the whole work in progress that is my backdrop. I know I look kind of weird. I'm building this out. I don't have my camera yet, so keep your eyes peeled. Eventually, this room is going to look cool. Hey, buddy. Hi, boss. Say hi. No? Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.